Well, welcome back, folks. I'm afraid we've obviously had a bit of a problem here. RDO seems to have been granted the win with Blue Mosquito, Mr. Berserk. Something happened to Iggy, to BR4, Simon K, Joe Royal and Mackies. I think we may have had a problem. I think we may have had a problem with the timing board. RDO granted the win from Mosquito, Mr. Berserk, with what I think should be the podium, at least when I last saw it. Iggy, BR4, Simon K, Joe Royal. Then we have Mackies, Sick Boy, David Sparrow. And then it should be, as far as I know, RDO, Blue Mosquito, and Mr. Berserk. We're reading as the final lap here. But we're under some sort of caution period, everybody going slowly. So my apologies. I'll try and get this one back under some sort of sense shortly. Okay, folks, we're just rebuilding the lobby conditions, of course, for the one-shot quali, and now here we go. I have got the official results of the race. It was, as I had suspected, it was that Iggy won from BR4 and Simon K, with Mackies, Joe, Sick Boy, David Sparrow, RDO, Blue Mosquito, Mr. Berserk, and Slimmy Cam DNFing, but 10 finishers came out of it, and we've got some intermediary. I don't want to race. Don't make me race. I've got some intermediary results as well for the championship, and that sees with a win by Iggy, he takes a lead again by 11 points. He's on 144 from Sick Boys 133 and BR4's 133, and comes Mackies on 121 and Joe Royal on 96 for your top 5. It's very much a top 5 that appear to be with us for the remaining 3 rounds after this one, but I think we may have I think we're collecting drivers for this lobby, so thankfully the drivers just selecting their car and getting themselves organised. We will be back underway very soon. Thank you for rejoining this stream. My apologies for the issue we had there with a game crash. reminder, we're going to have a one-shot quali session, followed by a 40-minute race, 40-minute race, as we've just got a just waiting for the drivers to rejoin. So we've got 4 minutes before we go underway. Well, just about 3 minutes. I'm just going to see a replay here from Joe Royal on Slimmy Cam, and the incident that we saw, I think, on stream. Did we? Yeah, the oversteer moment on the way out of the corner. That was on the way through, on the approach, I think. Sorry, on the way out of turn 5, it was Slimmy Cam just oversteering super wide and losing the car, and that's what we saw from Joe Royal's POV as well. So with Iggy as the man in qualifying 1, I think it's probably sensible to stick with him for this one-shot qualifying session as well. He's gone for the hard tyres, so it looks like Simon and Ardio both gone for medium tyres to start with. Everybody on full tanks of fuel. So the mediums won't be able to be used quite as much as they'd hoped for. Mr. Berserk has gone for soft tyres, so a very different strategy, and it might do us well to perhaps watch Mr. Berserk, see what kind of grip difference he's got on the car. Not everybody fueled right to the very brim. A couple of drivers a little bit off, but we're on our way to quali very soon. Has Mr. Berserk changed tyres? I think he might have. I think he's deciding on his tyres again. Yeah, he's changing strategy. So, if you're watching in the chat, give me a nomination. Who would you most like to watch for their one-shot qualifying? Championship leader Iggy, runners-up currently BR4 and Sick Boy. Mr. Berserk has now gone on to hard tyres, so I don't know if he's listening in and realised he'd put the wrong tyres on, or he's just looking down at his dash. Simon K, RDO, the Aston Martin boys, very much coordinating the same strategy instead of split strategies, but Sick Boy going for a slight difference here with medium tyres on his car. It is the time for qualifying, one-shot qualifying to begin, so the drivers will start making their way out. I thought I saw somebody heading out onto the track, did I? A moment ago. Is that just a little glitch on the game? Temporarily, yes, I think it was. They've been given the go command, so they can get underway with qualifying as soon as they want to. And there goes, I think, Moosh on his way out. One of the Aston Martins has gone out. David Sparrow has gone for soft tyres, and I think that might be interesting to watch as well in the Peugeot. Despite complaining about the handling and how bad the tyres are, David Sparrow has gone for those soft tyres. But Moosh, BR4 and Mackies are out there. Looks like David Sparrow might be waiting for one of the last opportunities to set a time, so it may not be super sensible for us to watch with him. So, failing any special requests, I will ride with, I think I'll go with Iggy, who set pole in the first race overall. Remember that RDO and his teammate have gone for the medium tyres here, and David Sparrow on the softs. Usually RDO is the rearmost driver in qualifying, but he's decided against it. Of course, the drivers will race their way to the start-finish line, but will then have to create a gap. It's not going to be easy for them. Looks like Iggy's already managed to create a nice gap for himself, but that will be destroyed by the drivers in front doing likewise. Alternate pit lane area at this end of the track, this northwest side of the track. Not in use for this configuration. This is the full Lago Maggiore track, of course. So RDO is watching along, and I don't know if he's going to give us some insight into his tyre selection, but here goes Iggy then for his qualifying attempt. Into second gear. A little bit of understeer on the car, but maybe that's just lag, possibly. It seemed to teleport slightly into the apex. Very calm and controlled in the cockpit so far on the hard tyres. You've got to be very, very calm. Oh, that's a bit of a problem though for Iggy as he runs firstly oversteer, and then of course the curb spits him out to the outside going through turn 4. Very problematic corner for our drivers tonight so far. Turn 4, now down into the deep groove of turn 5 and up the hill through turn 6 as we go towards turn 7. We haven't got any corner names for Lago Maggiore. I'm tempted to make a few up, but I won't unless unless you want me to. Perhaps we'll name the corners based on incidents through the race. We already have a possible Slimmy Cam corner, don't we? Through there. No drivers wanting to put their name to a corner, I don't imagine. So here comes Iggy then down the hill. We've got Moosh and Mackey's in front of him on the circuit. Monstering across that hairpin curb in the dip of turn 12. Just one real problematic moment on the lap so far for Iggy. Good throttle modulation, waiting for the car to grip in. And then just the final corner to deal with. Not the ideal line, runs a little bit tight and then wide. And here we go then. Of course, Moosh will cross the line first. This is Iggy's lap, and it's a 1:57.141. Here comes Simon to cross the line, and he goes pole on the medium tyres for Simon. So what about David Sparrow? Because we know he was running, it goes Sick Boy onto pole. What about David Sparrow though? He was on the soft tyres as he goes pole himself. David Sparrow up into pole position on a 55.2. That's a nice way to go about racing. Here comes RDO then to finish off the race. The qualifying session, this one-shot quali for RDO on the medium tyres, of course, with softs on the rear this time. He split the difference on the axe and put the softer one on the rear, and he's only got P9, so that hasn't worked particularly well as Mr. Berserk goes to cross the line on the hard tyres with just Blue Mosquito behind him. Mr. Berserk across the line, P11 it is, and Blue Mosquito, any improvement on that? Yes, he takes 11th off Mr. Berserk, but it is David Sparrow in the RCZ on soft tyres who secured the pole by 1.3 seconds from championship runner-up, currently joint runner-up, Sick Boy, and should be in a good one here. So we are having a rolling start, of course, for the start of our feature race. 40 minutes on the clock as we are about to get underway for you, and the cars are under starters order. There is David Sparrow's Portuguese Peugeot RCZ with Sick Boy next to him, Simon K and BR4, with Iggy stuck down in 5th at the moment, but a medium tyre on Sick Boy with a good start, getting tucked up behind the Peugeot. And Sick Boy, will he go for an early move here? He may need to take advantage wherever possible of the soft tyres, otherwise it's going to be, it looks like that was RDO turned round again. Another white with green car turned round through turn 1. This time it's the Aston Martin of RDO's car, I feel fairly certain. But right up at the front, it is the other Aston of Simon who is hounding the back of Sick Boy as they kick up the dust going through turn 4. How many times will I say that tonight? But David Sparrow continues to lead this race as Mackies goes for a late move. We've seen this one with Joe Royal doing an undercut, but Mackies getting tucked up directly underneath. BR4 gets a nice racing line drive out of the turn 5 hairpin to stay in the lead, and Iggy now on the back of Mackey's chasing hard the Z4 in the Viper. Of course, Iggy making this one work, and again more dirt and dust kicked up, and Iggy going for an outside inside switchback move and getting the car through. That was remarkable at full throttle. There goes the Viper nicely down there into P5. Of course, very, very strong top speed on the Viper as Mackies outbrakes himself. The fuel, though, tends to be the limiting factor on the Viper. It's David Sparrow from Sick Boy, Simon and BR4 with championship leader Iggy down in 5th at the moment, but on the hard tyres, as is BR4. In front of him, there's a penalty on the Mercedes in front of Simon here. And let's just check in on the back of the order, because it was RDO turnaround. He's 3 seconds off the lead with the order as you see it on the circuit right now. Joe Royal on the hard tyres will benefit from the well-handling Lexus with the fuel as well, versus some of the other marks on the car on the circuit. As Mackies goes for a defensive manoeuvre, Joe Royal tries around the outside of turn 1 and Mackies hangs him out to dry there. So Joe's going to have to make sure he has a more certain opportunity to make a move than that one. David Sparrow getting away at the front here from Sick Boy and Simon K, who are locked in battle. Remember that penalty on Sick Boy's car. Simon K will have to make sure he's awake to that one. A giant +1 on above his car will probably help him see that, of course. And the penalty will be taken on the back straight of the circuit that you'll see coming up shortly, next to those yellow chevrons. There we go then. The slowdown coming from Sick Boy. Now significantly slower. Will Sick Boy also need to defend from BR4 as they head down towards the turn 12 hairpin? Not quite. Sick Boy managing to get his foot back on the throttle, and he's of course back under racing speed now on the medium tyre. Sick Boy in P3 in a pretty good place at this stage, but BR4 is on the hard tyres and the furthest forward of the hard runners, but Iggy is catching him. David Sparrow continues to pull the gap, but it is closing up now in the battle for 3rd place, led by Sick Boy from BR4 and Iggy. As things stand, these are the guys battling for the championship as well. Mackey's hanging on to the tail, as is Joe Royal in the championship, but it's these three I think we will probably have to pick our champion out of. BR4 missing the apex through 4. That invites Iggy to get closer and closer. 0.3 of a second now between BR4 and Iggy. And through they go, up the hill towards the switchbacks, left and right and left. As DB Elite says, bring home the win for Iggy. Wow, Iggy getting, he's so strong through those S's of turns 9, 10 and 11 is Iggy. And right on the tail of the Mustang, gets the car underneath, and wow, going around the outside now. BR4 defending to the inside, stealing an awful lot of apex in his defense, but the next corner favors Iggy as they turn left. Will BR4 hang on around the outside? I think Iggy has got the position up to P4 then for Iggy on the hard tyres, and is the lead hard runner, but using more fuel, actually not using more fuel than the Mustang at this stage. So Iggy making that fuel run work a little bit better. Early days yet though, of course. We're only 5 minutes in. And again, more dust being kicked up by the lead Mercedes of Sick Boy. Here comes BR4 back with a retaliatory move, going down into turn 1. This does tend to favour the inside runner, but he's very generous on the exit. Leaves enough racing space on the exit of the corner, and I think Iggy complied and did exactly the same on the way out of turn 2. So very respectful racing going on between these two championship battlers. But it is Sick Boy back on top after, Iggy back on top after BR4 came back at him down into turn 1. We've seen drivers be less generous down into that corner. And BR4 is definitely a lot more under control under those brakes than we've seen him, particularly in Monza. Was a real difficulty for him. But let's see what BR4 can do. Does he just try and hang out with Iggy, follow him towards the podium at this point? It's a long race, so maybe not good to get all slidey and offline and overheat the tyres. Down the hill once again, then we go towards turn 12. No way through still. Iggy now looking much more racy on the back of third place Sick Boy. He's got that gap down to 0.4 of a second, and his gamble appears to have worked very well with that one-shot qualifying, keeping the car under control. What would have been had it not been for that slight error we saw. But here comes BR4, who's very strong through the turn 13 and 14 left and right. And now into the final sector of the racetrack. Iggy just running out of road a little bit there, understeering to the exit of the corner, maybe just setting himself up for a good run into the final corner here. Gets tucked nicely into the apex curb, hangs out on that outside line without touching the dirt, and Iggy back away again. Might be too far away to tempt BR4 into a move. That looked like Blue Mosquito going super wide on the final corner in the background, but I will stay with this battle because I know everybody's enjoying it. But I think Blue Mosquito having a slight mistake there. I think RDO has caught the field nicely at the back of the group. He's on medium tyres though, so an early mistake has really cost him on his strategy. It's still David Sparrow in the lead from Simon, but it's Sick Boy, Iggy and BR4 where all our attention is currently. Down into turn 5 they go. BR4 getting a better apex there, but somehow or other Iggy's minimum speed looked to be a little bit higher. Maxing out on the G-force indicator above the speedo is Iggy going through these corners. This is where Iggy is strongest on the field, through these corners now, and it builds himself for a really good run down the back straight. In fact, he's almost passed on his traction on the way out of the corner, and there goes Iggy into the podium positions, into P3. Sick Boy starting to struggle comparatively on the medium tyres here, so he is. That's probably explains some of the lack of grip, but really good stuff from Iggy. Up to third now, some 5 seconds away from second place, and will BR4 perhaps feel like it's time to attack Sick Boy as well now. So is everybody in the chat an Iggy fanboy at the moment? It seems like there's a lot of love for Iggy. Do we only like winners? Is that why we're fanning out here? But respect is due. But I have to say, Sick Boy and BR4 have also been having a tremendous championship. Sick Boy, the last few races, been in very, very good. Well, Simon is reading as leading this race currently. There appears to have been a problem for our erstwhile leader. That appears to be David Sparrow. Should have now pitted, I believe, to get rid of those soft tyres. Where is he? Yeah, he's gone onto the hard tyres as early as the end of lap 5 for David Sparrow. So down, but he should be able to manage a really strong undercut. The question, though, is he able to be fueled for a 30-minute run? Well, 29-minute run at the end of this race, because that is a significant amount of time to run on the fuel tanks. We'll see if he can do it. Here comes Sick Boy and BR4 getting the overlap, and Sick Boy really struggling for traction out of turns 9, 10 and 11, and that's where he was vulnerable to Iggy as well. So Iggy now second with BR4 third and Sick Boy in fourth place. I think this is where their gaps will start to open out now, and we'll pay some attention to the rest of the field. David Sparrow, of course, pitting. He's currently got the fastest lap. He's the one who ran the soft tyres. Now, will any of our hard starters have enough tyre life to get them deep enough into the race to run a 6-lap run on low fuel on softs at the end? Big question for me. There's Mackey's, Joe Royal and Slimmy. Slimmy having a much more consistent run so far, and RDO's got himself up to 8th place, and here is Sick Boy not letting BR4 get away from him. Remember, Sick Boy on the mediums, the two in front of him on the hard tyres, with tremendous speed here tonight. Simon K on the mediums, and his lead at the moment just shy of 6 seconds, but of course I imagine that's going to start dropping as his mediums start to wear through. How far deep are the mediums? They're about a quarter worn so far, fairly evenly spread across the axles as well. Oh, massively over the curbs through turn 7 and 8 for the drivers there. A lot of dust being kicked up. BR4 with the top speed advantage over the Merc, it seems. Merc very, very heavily affected. So that gap is opening up. Let's track with Mackey's and Joe. Joe running a strong 6th place to Mackey's 5th, and a personal best sector as well for Joe, just right on time there. Closing in goes Joe into under half a second now. Hard tyres, nearly half a tank of fuel used already in only 7 laps from Joe. That's pretty strong. Consistent though, maybe with Mackey's, but a 13-minute, that should take them to about the 26-minute mark, which might be just that little bit too early for the soft tyres to run right at the end of this race. But they've got to be tempted to do a light fuel tank soft tyre run at the end, haven't they? Track all nice and rub it in and ready to go. If you've got better fuel econ, why not double down and go for the soft tyres as well? So your order at the end of lap 8 around Lago Maggiore. This is, of course, round 5 of the championship. It is Simon K from Iggy, BR4, Sick Boy, Mackey's, Joe, Slimmy Cam and Blue Mosquito. How far away? Should we just have a quick look at David Sparrow? In fact, he's caught RDO, who I think has pitted. RDO's put soft tyres on, picked up a penalty, and is going to be slow on this lap on the next sector. But Interesting to see RDO pit early on. He's already run through his mediums at the end of lap 7 for RDO and dropping down again. But David Sparrow has obviously managed to undercut one driver. How far can he get into this race, I wonder, with this fuel run? Hard tyres. Will he be able to run all the way to the end on his fuel? We'll get an idea. We'll keep track of this one and see how far he can go, because while he runs at top speed, the other drivers are suffering with tyre wear, of course. Here comes Moosh and Mosquito. Whoa, and Mosquito with a nice sideways move on the way out. Seems like I'm having my job prospects discussed live on chat. I won't comment at this stage, but Moosh following behind Blue Mosquito. Slimmy Cam, as I say, having a much more consistent run, and here is Sick Boy falling foul of an attack here from Mackies, who's on the inside, and contact, double contact. I'm pretty sure Sick Boy tried to put the squeeze on Mackies. Joe Royal going through both of them, it looks like. Well, he's certainly side by side here with Mackies, who is sharpening the elbows, and there goes Sick Boy tucking back in again, getting another tap, just trying to close another driver out on the circuit, and it's not quite working there for Joe Royal. He's trying to go, but Mackie's got the better of Sick Boy, as down the inside comes Joe. And this is where Sick Boy's tyres are really, really struggling. It might feel like it's time to pit shortly for him. We'll have a quick look at his tyre usage, but it's Mackie's up to 4th now, Joe Royal in 5th, and Sick Boy in 6th. The top 3 are unchanged at Simon, Iggy, and BR4. So here is Sick Boy, who is more, I think, slightly more front limited than he is rear limited on the tyres. That will be important, of course, because it's Simon who's on the same tyres at the front of this race. He'll be running, I'm sure, a medium to hard strategy, whereas the hard starters might be tempted to a hard to soft strategy, which might be quicker overall. So Iggy has brought that gap down to 2.8 seconds now. He's managed to gain several seconds over the last lap, and you can see the consistency of his last 4 laps, all 1 minute 57s. BR4 slightly more consistent if possible across his ultimate pace at this tyre wear point here. There's Simon K into the pits then, and refueling with 28% fuel in the car at this stage. Pretty sure that will be hard tyres and a close to full to brim strategy. Refuel for him. So Iggy now on top, and BR4 in 2nd place, with a fair amount of the race still to run for these guys. I think they'll get another 10 minutes, maybe 8 for BR4, who's using the fuel at a much greater extent. So 18 minutes deep. We're not quite at the half distance point, but BR4 will be hoping to get this Mustang deep enough into the race to run a 10-lap run on mediums at most for the end here. A lot to go for BR4. It is a long lap with lots of fast corners, which are punishing the tyres. Mackies has now gapped Joe. And several pit stops to the good now. David Sparrow on track. Where is he right now? He's in P9, just catching Mr. Berserk's Beetle. Berserk Beetle makes me want to call him Herbie. Down the hill then towards the hairpin they go. Must be a tremendously difficult job for David Sparrow to go from soft tyres, flashing the lights as well. I'm sure, given the livery on that Peugeot, I'm sure that Mr. Berserk has seen him coming and he knows he's there. It's not exactly what I would call sporting reserve driver behaviour on track there from David Sparrow, who's here, of course, here to guest drive and just here for the glory, really, of race by race rather than the championship. But Yeah, you're not going to miss this one coming, are you, in your rear view mirrors, especially with that airbox stacked so high on the car. Around the final corner they go. Bags of grip here against Mr. Berserk, catching down, and is Mr. Berserk going to bother to defend into turn one? A long, late braking move with a little bit of rubbing going. Actually, that was a little bit rude there from David Sparrow against Mr. Berserk, who didn't put up a defence, didn't need driving off the circuit, and loses time, significant amount of time there. He's also on the hard tyres, barely used those hard tyres, but of course the fuel burning through at quite the rate of knots. On the Beetle, it is very strong on fuel usage. In a bad way, I should say. Iggy and BR4 continue to lead the race from now Mackies, who is 6.4 seconds away from BR4 and the lead pair. So we've got a pair of drivers, first and second, followed by pretty much just a pair of drivers here, Mackies and Joe. Slimmy Cam a little bit on his own, and then another pair of Blue Mosquito and Moosh in 6th and 7th, and they'll be next on David Sparrow's checklist. As you can see, David Sparrow bringing his Peugeot closer to the lead track position with every lap that goes, and of course they still need to pit. However, I'm not sure that David Sparrow has fueled enough to the finish of this race. We'll have to wait and see. BR4 now just turning the wick here on Iggy. Iggy's going to be paying a little bit of attention here to BR4. He won't know about the fuel difference. Iggy's still with over a quarter of a tank, and BR4 racing down towards, I think, maybe a fifth of a tank left now to go. It's a real strategy heavy game, race conditions and race duration for this one, but no strategy will beat consistent driving. Looks like BR4 got lap 12 deleted from the game, and no one troubling that fastest lap so far of David Sparrow, which was performed on the soft tyres very early on, but maybe some of the better fuel consumption cars will be able to run the soft tyres at the end, and we'll get that changing hands a little bit later on. So BR4 1.5 seconds away from the lead of this race. Lots of gaps opened up apart from this battle here, and Joe Royal and Mackies continuing to match each other lap for lap. 1.3 seconds now down for Iggy. And I think BR4 will be lucky to get one more lap out of this one. He'll be through to about 25 minutes. Should be okay for the mediums to the end. He's just hit the fuel warning light, but I think he'll get through to run another one. Will he be tempted to go in the pits to make sure he doesn't run out of fuel? Let's ride with BR4 then. No, he's happy to go on again. Does appear to be at least a lap's worth of fuel left in the car. May need to lift and coast towards the end, but again, eyes focused on the rear wing of the Viper of Iggy, trying to stay with him, but the gap just opened by a tenth or two on that lap. Mackie's in the pits now. That leaves Joe Royal a little bit able to run his own pace here. Mackie's presumably running out of fuel in the car there, so Joe will get perhaps a couple more laps out of the car, and I think if the drivers can get themselves close to the 30-minute mark before stopping, we'll see some soft tyres at the end of this one, and a small amount of fuel going in as well. So starting to get busy, I guess, at the tail of the field. Let's go catch up with everybody's strategies so far. This is Slimmy Cam, still on the starting fuel and tyres, hard tyres, of course. We've got Blue Mosquito heading to the pits shortly as well. David Sparrow having pitted but only got half a tank of fuel left for the remaining 15 minutes of this race. Let's see if he can make that one work. That is the biggest limitation for me, and he is 25 seconds off the lead of Iggy, who has yet to pit. RDO, who has pitted but came out on soft tyres for a medium soft, and I presume medium run to the end of this race. That should work just about. Sick Boy, freshly pitted, but very little fuel left in that car for Sick Boy comparatively. Plenty of fuel sits in Simon's car. He's just been in, he's put on the new hard tyres, he's running a medium hard strategy. And then we've got Mackies and Moosh and Mr. Berserk all having pitted as well. But coming into the pits now is BR4 and Iggy. No, Joe Royle has taken the lead. It looks like BR4 has got ahead of Iggy in the pit lane. Is that just because Iggy has stopped ahead behind him on the track? I think it might be. So into the pits they come. I'm surprised to see Iggy in this early. Red wall tyres on the Mustang going on. Iggy, I'm not entirely sure. So out comes Iggy on soft tyres. BR4 I'm missing currently, and he's all the way down there in P8. Oh, he's come out in such awful traffic next to Mackies, and he's got to be careful with Mackies, who's been very aggressive on the circuit tonight. BR4, absolute nightmare. He's dropped. He's got a gap. He's got 3 drivers in between himself and the leader. He was only 1.4 seconds off, and that is the difference between making a well-timed pit stop and an ill-timed pit stop. Up the road, I think we've got Iggy then hounding down RDO. Iggy on soft tyres to run a fairly adventurous number of laps on the soft tyres, especially given the complaining he was doing in the driver chat, though I'm pretty quickly learning to ignore the pre-race pessimism, I should say, from Iggy. Does appear to be somewhat unfounded by my experience anyway. Iggy down the outside against RDO. He's got good grip on the car, but RDO had a bit of an understeer at the apex. Iggy should be able to get the drive here with the soft tyres, and manages to get just about underneath the Aston Martin and through into 4th place. There you can see David Sparrow. That is confirmed. He did undercut everybody on the field with that early pit stop. That has worked very well, but BR4 couldn't be worse for him. Finally gets the job done on now Simon's car. And no, Simon came out the pits, so Simon had almost undercut BR4, who is finding it incredibly difficult to battle with Mackies here, even though BR4 is on brand new soft tyres, because Mackies is on similar, and they are fueled through towards the finish. So BR4 got himself undercut. I think he had a problem on his in-lap, because it was so significant was his losses there. Extris says, let's say it's an Iggy win by now. Well, if the large amount of years I've been following motorsport is anything to go by, you can't call a race before it's done, surely, as RDO is wiggling his way out of turn 4. Here comes BR4 then against Mackies, but it is absolutely stalled the battle here for the front. I think David Sparrow, if he can make the fuel work, he might be in with a good shout here. He's been quick, but the Viper is clearly a superior car to the RCZ. Joe Royle still has not pitted. I think he's our only non-pitter so far, so he'll be looking for a good run at the end with making use of that Lexus fuel consumption. BR4 is struggling massively here against Mackies. Mackies forces him to the outside. BR4 is going to have to get a good job done on the brakes or go for the switchback. He's going for the switchback. He's got the newer soft tyres, but Mackies has got the inside line coming into the next corner, and they're blocked. They're blocked by RDO, who is all over the race circuit trying to get out of the way, I think, or at least defend. RDO all over the off the outfield as well now, and struggling around. They both get past RDO comfortably, but BR4 still hanging around on the outside. He's watching Mackey's try and drive him off the circuit. Very Verstappen style cornering from Mackey's, and I should never talk about Verstappen, should I? That's just gonna bring me a whole bunch of hate. But here comes BR4 getting himself tucked up. Mackey's defends to the inside once again. There's Joe Royal and RDO both in the pits now, and that is Sick Boy having a problem coming out of the corner. So Sick Boy's championship is fading, but BR4 with a nice outside inside move through turns 1 and 2. Good work from BR4. Just gets the overlap before Mackey's can continue to rub wheel arches. BR4 wiggles through turn 4, and away he goes then. He's got Iggy in front of him, but BR4 losing 9 seconds. Well, let's be generous and say 8 seconds to Iggy over that pit stop window. Iggy and David Sparrow then. This is the battle for the lead, as David Sparrow has got to be thinking about fuel fuel consumption to the end. Iggy all over the road. The longer that David Sparrow can hold off Iggy, the better for his chance to get on this podium, or at least battle for the win. But Iggy through takes the lead of the race at the halfway point of lap 16 with just 8.5 minutes to run in this race. Iggy back on top with David Sparrow with the monster of all undercuts. Beautiful driving from David Sparrow. Despite all his protestations about the car he was given. And now it's BR4 who's about to light the touch paper and try and catch these two. Hard tyres on David Sparrow, so towards the end of this stint he'll be in a good place. Similar fuel loads, and Iggy's soft, so he needs to be able to stay with Iggy through this phase and try and launch an attack later on. Feel really bad for BR4, but there must have been a problem on his in-lap, because that was really where he lost so much time. Handful of places. Here's your order then on lap 17. It's Iggy from David Sparrow, 1.4 seconds away. Then comes BR4 a further 7 seconds back, and Mackey's with Joe fresh out on soft tyres for the end of this race in 5th place, back to resume battle here with Mackey's, who's going to struggle on those softs. One of the earliest drivers to try the soft tyres was Mackey's. Slimmy Cam is in 6th place, with Simon Kay some half a second back from him, who featured highly in the race earlier on, but it's not quite run for him. Medium hard strategy not working as well as the hard soft strategy. Sick Boy has had an inconsistent race, inconsistent evening, you would say, perhaps, for 8th place currently overall. There goes Blue Mosquito in 9th, RDO in 10th, who's a ways off the main pace, some 40 seconds now. Mr. Berserk 45 seconds off, and Mouchalot 53, but all the drivers still on the same roughly half a lap. And here is Iggy and David Sparrow. Iggy absolutely gunning it here to try and put the gap on 2nd place David Sparrow. Going to get in trouble again, aren't I, by calling people by their first and last names. And let's go and see BR4 and Joe Royal, because Joe's got past Mackey's much easier. Mackey's really struggling on these soft tyres. Look at how limited they are with another. That's going to be a very long 6.5 minutes there to go. It's a long stint for Mackey's on those tyres as they are. I don't think it's worth a pit stop this stage. Just got to try and live with it. So here comes Joe then. New soft tyres against BR4's used soft tyres, and well-used soft tyres they are as well. Joe could see himself clearing away on the podium here tonight. Get a really good result. Hops over the inside curb. And you can just see the difference in grip level for Joe. Getting into the slipstream as much as possible on these GT Group 3 cars, by which I mean not a lot. Joe on the inside. BR4 always makes that outside move work nicely, but there is Joe coming up. And BR4's got track position at this stage. Joe just needs to time their move as well as possible, and that looks pretty positive from Joe. Under that rear wing, a little touch perhaps, that might be the indication of a tiny bit of lag on BR4's car as he peels off towards the inside to defend the inside run down the hill towards the hairpin, and there Joe suffers the top speed of the Lexus. A very, very late, brave braking move, and away then through the next corner, through into third place temporarily went Joe Royal. He'll try and hang side by side with BR4, and they rub bodywork. Joe trying to switch back on BR4. I think he's got it done because the next two are right-handers, and he's got the move. So Joe through into the podium positions, racing with the Lewis Hamilton rainbow helmet on the car, and Niki Lauda on the side as well. And Joe getting away now from BR4 with that better traction on the newer soft tyres as we head in towards the final 4 minutes of the race. So we should have 2 more laps, I think, just about. It's possible we'll get 3 depending on where the leader is. Iggy has gapped David Sparrow, whose hard tyres are going to be no match for the soft tyres of Joe if he can get up close. It's 3 seconds between David Sparrow and Joe Royal, which is a big ask in 2 laps. And David Sparrow's fuel, remember, he had to brim the tank on his first pit stop running softs on full fuel. He's definitely on a bit of a conservation run here. 2 laps out of what's left in that tank. Pretty strong ask. Joe might have this opportunity to catch. It's got the gap down to 2 seconds between Joe and David Sparrow, who is, I'm assuming, starting to lift and coast. Wish I could see. Quite possibly he was off both throttle and brake there going down into the hairpin. You won't get a lot of engine braking going down the hill like that. But he can certainly blend out of the throttle quite often. His fuel light is on. He's going to desperately hope there's only 1 more lap after this one. Let's see when Iggy crosses the line. Does Iggy know that he could play the spoiler here for David Sparrow's lap time and fuel usage? Around the outside goes Iggy. Will we have more than 2 minutes remaining when he crosses the line? I believe we will. I think there's going to be 2 more after this one then. Iggy has crossed the line ahead of my expectations, so that's going to be very difficult now for David Sparrow to finish the race out. Oh dear me, big slide from David coming out of turn 1. That gap's dropped by another half a second for Joe, who currently has the fastest lap on these soft tyres, a 54.009 for Joe as well. Great racing all through the evening tonight from these top tier Monday night drivers. Absolute treat we've been given. So few mistakes. And there, the gap, there is David losing an entire second. I think he knows the fuel is going to be the end of him here. I think just trying to hang on to a podium. Joe then going for a wider line to get better traction. Oh, David Sparrow all over the road, out on the marbles, just hangs on. But Joe takes second place from what seemed to be a pretty difficult position earlier on. Super consistent driving from Joe. Let's see what David's throttle application looks like. Off throttle, straight on the brakes. He's not concerned. I think he might know he's going to have to pit or run on low fuel mode at the end of this one. So about 40 seconds then to finish this race, but I think that will mean that that Iggy will have crossed the line by the time we get the white flag for the final lap. Here it comes. He crosses the line now. We will go round once again. So Joe ahead of David Sparrow. Now, will David decide to pit here with the flashing fuel light? Surely. Well, he's going to go round again as he brakes. I think he knows his racing is done. I think he's gone into low fuel mode, has he, David? Yeah, the car has virtually stopped. He should have pitted. He should have pitted. One more lap out of that car before brimming it before he went. These guys have been given the checkered flag down in 5th, 6th and 7th. I think he was stopping there to get himself lapped, was he? But we're definitely on the final lap then for Iggy, some 9 seconds ahead of Joe and BR4. So they've all crossed the line because they waited for the timing to reach that 40-minute mark. So I'll do the strange thing of reading the results in reverse. We've got at the rear of the field, it is Mr. Berserk in 11th, Moosh in 10th, RDO in 9th, Blue Mosquito in 8th, Slimmy in 7th, Simon in 6th, David in 5th. But the top 4 will continue to battle out here and drive round. I don't think anyone is going to be able to depose Iggy from the top. So Extras did say early doors that he would it was Iggy's race, probably with about 9 minutes to go in the race. Look at those soft tyres, chewed up to pieces for Iggy. He's just having fun in the Viper now. He'll know we're watching him at the end of the race. Maybe he'll give us a little demonstration drift through the final corner. Looks like Iggy taking another commanding step towards the championship then, extending his lead with a fantastic night's racing from Iggy. Round the final corner he goes, no showmanship yet, and to cross the line to win in Lago Maggiore, this round 5 of the 8-round championship. Tremendous drive from Iggy overall with pace to spare. There goes Joe in 2nd, and brilliant drive from Joe. Congratulations to them. And there goes BR4 in P3. P3 for BR4 with a rescue mission after that shocking in-lap. Frankly, a 2-minute 35 in-lap. I don't know what went down with that one, but he lost so much time. Here comes Mackey's then to be the final one to cross the line. In P4, will he make it? I think he's going to try and do it backwards. He was trying to pitch it into a proper spin. He's trying to J-turn, but hits the pit wall. Well, Mackey's, that was somewhat lacking in style. In fact, it was so lacking in style, I'm going to focus on Iggy because he was the winner. So congratulations. Apparently I've got standings already, so I should check that out. How does RDO do it with the standings? As we look at the winner celebration card, we'll see the updated standings prior to any steward inquiries with a double win tonight. That is Iggy. Only his 2nd double win of the championship so far. Iggy wins and extends his lead out to 17 points, now on 170 points at the head of the championship, from BR4 on 153. Then comes Sick Boy on 141 with a very underwhelming performance tonight in Lago Maggiore. Mack is in 4th, over 100 points for him, 139. And then Joe takes a step forward up into 5th place and into triple figures on 119. So that was your Lago Maggiore race. That was tremendous fun for everybody, I'm sure. Thanks so much for your engagement. Make sure to leave a like on the video and a subscribe on the channel. Follow us on socials at Aero League Racing and myself at WebORed5 if you want to know when I go live. But a pleasure to be with you all tonight, and from myself and everyone else here at Aero League Racing, we will catch you on the next race day.